Alabama somehow, some way, survived Cocktober yesterday. 29-22 the final. I would give this game 4 Chalai. I would imagine most of the world ended up being tuned into this game. And I, if you're listening on podcast, am wagging my index finger at many of you. This is your fault. This is not my fault. It's your fault because I tried to warn everyone. Did we not use this microphone last week to warn the nation? I felt like Paul Revere. And I said, Cocktober is coming. Cocktober is coming. And everyone said, nah, South Carolina already had their chances. Bama's rolling now. They're favored to win everything in the SEC. And haven't you, they've already beaten Georgia. They beat Vandy. They beat Missouri. They beat Tennessee. This is South Carolina. This is where you get to exhale a little bit. And then you go into the bye week and they're favored by double digits. Oh, it moved from 13.5 to 11.5. That's still a comfortable win. And then guess what happened? A football game. And they don't always go the way they're supposed to. And it's 22-14. And it's the fourth quarter. And all of a sudden, people started to believe in Cocktober. And I'm over here at Vanderbilt watching that game happen in front of me. I got the iJosh here. And we all know that Vandy's Wi-Fi comes through. So you're kind of watching 2 games at once. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, I must have mouthed these words 1,000 times. I told them. They didn't want to listen. I told them. I would call this a C-level effort from Alabama, and they won the game. I want to make sure I have the proper tone here. This is a huge win for Alabama. Huge win. Ton of credit due for winning this game. This is not the old school now. I understand the new era we're in. You don't have to school me in the comments. I get it. There's a lot of compacted nature about the sport now. No team better exemplifies that than Alabama. Every game's a one-possession game. This is Kalen DeBoer's Washington just wearing Alabama clothing right now. Now, it may not always be that way, but this year's team seems to be that way. And before anyone thinks that's a slight, I'm referring to a team that played for a national championship. They're really good in those critical moments. Our buddy Brooks Austin's been talking about this a lot on Twitter. You know, you got to win those criticals. Bama just dominates the criticals, and therefore it doesn't matter if it's 42-10 or 29-22, because the SEC league office just says it's a win. So that's really what mattered here. Ty Simpson, nothing to write home about. First 3 quarters of this game, they needed 2 scoring drives, and he led 2 scoring drives. And I would say the most important player outside of Ty Simpson on this team is named Jeremy Bernard. And in a day where Ryan Williams had some issues with drops, in a day where Latzir Brooks is out, in a day where Isaiah Horton's limited, you needed every bit of Jeremy Bernard. And there he was. And then you got Ryan Grubb, who is putting on about as good a clinic in play calling, given their limitations, as anyone in America. Somehow, some way, is able to squeeze that sponge hard enough to where they get just enough offense out. And they did it again. Could not run the ball to save their lives conventionally, and yet they still find a way. See, most of the time, here's what makes them so able to be bought into offensively. There are a bunch of other teams around the country that can't run the ball, and their offense just implodes. It just shuts down. Alabama's somehow still able to function, and function at a fairly high level when it's time to. So that's really impressive to me. But I saw this and I heard this yesterday. Stop me if this sounded like you yesterday. You've watched Bama. They've looked really impressive these last few weeks, right? And you watched this yesterday. A lot of people watched this game yesterday and they said, man, what's wrong with them? That isn't Alabama. That doesn't look like Alabama. It absolutely is Alabama. It's just that people don't think about teams in terms of ranges of outcome. They just get this idea in their head, and a lot of people just watch highlights of games. So when you think Alabama, you think Ryan Williams with some circus catches, Ty Simpson. A lot of guys have been talking about him now as the best quarterback in this class. And so you're watching this highlight all 22 tape, and you're seeing Yanze Pierre get after the quarterback last year, but your mind's thinking in terms of highlight. That's not football. That's not how football actually works. You're going to be on the field like 70 plays each way. That's a lot of plays these days, but still. We'll get back to the video 1 second. Do me one quick favor. Look down. Make sure you're subscribed. Most of you are. If you're not, please do so. It's the way we keep the channel free, we keep the videos coming, and we get to do college football year-round as God intended. All right, as promised, back to the video. When you've got the 112th best rushing attack in the country, there's a lot of volatility that goes into the range of outcome. And the reason I stressed the Tennessee game last week so much in the lead up to this game is because on the surface, it looks like a comfortable win. It wasn't. It wasn't, because there was a play near the half that, if I just changed one factor of it, completely warps that game. And it's the play right down near the goal line, which took a game that could have been 16-14 Alabama going into the half, Tennessee with all the momentum, to its 23-7, and Bama's got a death grip on the game. Now, you may think to yourself, what are you trying to do, discredit that play? No, that's a heck of a play by Xavier Brown. All credit due to Kane Womack and the red zone defense. My point there was that ends up making a game look like it was comfortable, it was a blowout. It wasn't that. It wasn't. All these games they're playing are really compacted. They're really close. They're one possession. I almost said one possession either way. They haven't been either way. They've all gone Bama's way, just like when DeBoer made that run at Washington. All those games went his way. There's a ton of skill in that. You just got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable if you're a Bama fan right now. It's not Saban. It's not 42-7, or maybe if we suck in the fourth quarter 42-20 and everyone gets chewed out afterwards. It's not that anymore. But wins are still wins. You shouldn't be shocked by these outcomes. And it's going to be a pretty consistent game script, I think. Now, here's the bad news. The bad news is, yet again, as a double-digit favorite, you had to really, really sweat until the last minute. The good news is you can also go turn in a game like you did against Georgia. Alabama go beat Ohio State, then go beat Indiana, beat A&M. They could beat anybody. But they could also play Auburn in a few weeks and trail in the fourth quarter. That's just the nature of the games they're playing this year. There's going to be nail-biter after nail-biter. This also made me think about South Carolina and why the college football playoff selection process hurt for them so much worse last year. I'm not saying they should have been in the playoff. Some of them thought they should have been in the playoff. They were in the running. They were like one of the first few teams out. Now, Bama, ironically, was also one of the first few teams out. Bama fans just looked at that and said, oh, well, we'll get them next year. South Carolina fans don't get to say that nearly as confidently, because now they're down several guys from that group last year. They're nowhere close to being a playoff caliber team. They're 3-5, and you've got Lenora Sellers essentially having to try and do it all. A lot of the reports we heard from fall camp have not panned out. That wide receiver room behind Nick Harbor has not surprised anyone. They couldn't run the ball yesterday either. They've averaged about 3 yards per carry outside of Lenora Sellers this year, and what hurts is they've hit on him. Lenora Sellers is a star quarterback. He's a bona fide star talent, the likes of which you rarely see come through your program. And what happens when you do have one is you view it as a Christmas tree, and you throw every ornament you got on that thing. And South Carolina doesn't have enough ornaments. And what really hurts is he's going to go on to do things in the NFL, and 10 years from now, someone's going to say, hey, where'd he play his college ball? And someone will say, oh, he played at South Carolina. And you'll say, oh, man, they must have had a really good stretch there. And you'll look back, and this year won't make a lot of sense, because you'll be asking, how did they only win 5 games with Lenora Sellers? Because respectfully, I don't want to say it this way because it's going to sound bad. He's not the only one out there. They fought their tails off yesterday. I don't mean that. I mean, they got to have better football players than they have, given the talent they have at quarterback. And that's what will be the letdown when you ultimately, I think, look back on this season. They've been through a lot up there. I don't question the competitive character, the integrity, the buy-in, the culture. I don't question any of that. They don't have enough good football players. It is the most academic reason why you don't win. You didn't have enough good football players. And it's not just a yesterday thing, obviously.